Hi there YouTube, Extreme Trains here. So in this video we're taking a look at an item which I've been very excited to get my hands on, as I think have most people all around the world as these items have started to drop. It is the brand new for 2025 Percy, 80th Anniversary Percy, CGI Percy, Classics Percy. Not exactly sure how we're referring to him. Trackmaster 4, perhaps, Percy. This is, as you can see, just the kind of core, I think they call it, single pack version of him. It is not the Greatest Moments version. That has not yet released in Australia. But what are we waiting for? Percy is the one who got a very lot of requests on my previous reviews of these engines. Let's do it. Alright, here he is, the Percy. And again, interestingly, these packaging I do want to spend a little bit of time on because there's some very interesting things happening. Firstly, we do have a return of the 80th anniversary logo. It's going to focus. We've got the CGI picture of Percy. We've got the little motorized, the current motorized symbol down the side. But then interestingly, we've just called it Percy. So it's not Classics Percy, it's just Percy. So I know there's a lot of talk suggesting that maybe these are only coming back for this year, and given the comments that Mattel's made about there being kind of some new thing coming in 2026 that will delight fans young and old, I suspect there's another reboot or something coming which may have quite a different art style, not sure. So on one view, I can see that this might be a 2025 only release with this styling, but equally the fact this is just called Percy suggests to me that maybe it is going to be sticking around for a little bit longer because they haven't differentiated it. So it was weird because there were these Percys hanging up on the shelves next to CGI Percy, sorry, All Engines Go Percys that all look the same. Then we've got the truck here. We've got the usual thing with the Trackmaster track along the bottom. This is the bottom, and again you can see we've got the old CGI style Thomas on the barcode. As much I love that. And this is what's interesting. Dun dun dun. Now this is where, you know, I think I picked this up from Leo, but I think he should be sending Mattel some letters asking for kickbacks if this line sells well, because finally we have the return of the back of the packaging information. Now, whether this sticks again will be interesting, but finally. I don't know what the wait has been, but it is great to see that this has finally come back, and it makes me very excited to pick up these other engines. You can get a hint of what's different between these versions and the versions in the greatest packs, but we're going to keep talking about that in a moment. Otherwise, we've got all the usual blah blah. Pause if you would like to read it. Otherwise, we've already looked at the bottom, and then you've got a little bit more information on the side. Okay, so that's Percy's packaging. Let's crack him open. Okay. Let's do the shot first. All right, let's get in a nice, good look at that Percy face. Yeah, that's a very, very good CGI Percy face. I mean, again, he's not looking towards us. He's kind of looking up. I don't hate that. It's a little bit different. There you go. He's kind of looking towards you if you have him leaning like that. I like these kind of expressive style faces. Yeah, this is awesome. So this is awesome. And I'll do a comparison to some other Percys in this range or previous versions of this range for a comparison in a moment. We look at the front here, you can see Percy does not have the white running board, nor does he have painted buffers. Now, the pictures I've seen of the 3-pack version of Percy, which as of the time of recording this video, I think is in Wave 2, so it hasn't been released, at least in Australia, yet. It is painted white, so it's interesting to see that they're reserving that deco for the multi-packs for some reason, but otherwise, yeah, you can see we do have all the details, including the lamp here, which is fun. We've got the details, the toolbox, the little spring. Interesting that the spring's not picked out in paint. It's often picked out with paint in other versions of this toy, so interesting to see that it's not for this one. If we come up to the top, you can see we've got the boiler lining, which looks pretty good. A couple of little bits where you can see where it's kind of been, like, it gets done here. There's a little join. It's gonna not, yeah, there you can see there's a join where the two bits overlap there, and then another overlap there, but that's fine. It's nice to see the molded whistle and dome return. We've got a sticker here for the windows, but again, that's something that's been going on for quite some time, so I'm not too bothered by that. You can see we come to the side, we've got the detailing here, the rivets, and again, like way too many rivets. There's not actually this many rivets, and they're huge if that's what they actually look like. But interesting, and then we've got that. We've got the big number here, which I think is perhaps a little bit too big, a little bit cartoony, but anyway. Printing on the side here for the coal bunker, but that does not extend around the back. We also don't have any printing on the back or for the lamp, unfortunately, but that is also the same as Thomas. And then again, we've got the plastic piece with the combined roof and coal bunker here with that switch here as well. And then coming down to the wheels, this looks like the same chassis. Well, put it this way, it's obviously not the same chassis as Thomas because it's straight at the front, but this little step part looks quite similar. And then you can see we've got here's the first engine I've looked at who doesn't have that middle wheel, and you can see here there's just nothing on that part of the chassis. So the other engines have like a plastic wheel stuck there, not just printed, but he's just got nothing, which is correct. And then you can see again, he's got this extra little part screwed in here for his cylinders, which is a nice touch. And interesting to see how they've done that. Again, we've got the long coupling, which you've seen in my video, can be replaced, and I will be replacing it on Percy after this video. And then you can see, yeah, it looks like upside down. Yeah, very nice looking Percy toy. This is the truck that you get. Again, this is just a plain truck. It's not a troublesome truck, unfortunately. It's that weird kind of hybrid scenario we've got here where we've got this kind of the smaller size of truck, but then we've got the newer style of underbody that's going on here. So again, why this wasn't a troublesome truck, I don't know. I mean, it's good that we're getting some rolling stock, given there's no real, like, you can't just get a pack of rolling stock these days. But the fact that it's just a plain green truck, in my view, is pretty boring. So let's now do some comparisons between this Percy and what else we have seen in this range. Right, so you can see here we've got a bit of a Percy evolution. We've got here the 75th anniversary, if I remember correctly, versions of Percy, which was the metallic version. You've seen that comparison in some of the other videos. Yeah, wow. Are people nostalgic for Trackmaster 2 still? Because in my view, it's terrible. It's so bad. It is just so, it was such a bad line in terms of, you know, so many downgrades, so many one-trick pony sets, just not the details. The engines all looked really weird. Yeah, so yeah, this is what the old Percy used to look like. Then we come here to the, what I've recently taken a look at this one actually, the All Engines Go Percy. Again, you can see the size difference is just massive. Like, it's quite unusual for things to get bigger and cost either the same or less, but that's one thing we actually are seeing this year with the Thomas & Friends merchandise, which is very unusual. But you can see, yes, we've got the All Engines Go versions of Thomas, which was much bigger, presumably to both get these designs, but also to reflect a more preschool audience. You can see that's what he looked like in that format. And then now we've got this version of Percy, and yeah, really, I mean, you can kind of tell it's the same character, but they do look like they're from totally different universes. I still find it so weird that we've got all these different versions of the same wheel. It looks like this is kind of maybe the same part returned. These have returned, so you wonder how long they've kept this molding for, or whether they kept the molding or they had to remake it, who knows. But yeah, very interesting to see the evolution of how this has all come together. But I mean, yeah, chalk and cheese about how this looks. I know people have some, you know, don't love particularly the tender engines in this line. I've seen quite a lot of people say they really don't like them, but okay, sure, but I'm going to disagree with you and say everything that's come out of this line so far has been better than its Trackmaster 2 equivalent, which just looks terrible. Okay, so now let's do some comparisons with the engines from this line here. All right, so first we can see here we've got Thomas and we've got Percy. They look awesome together. Remember when I talked about Thomas, I said something doesn't feel right about the way his wheels interact with the rest of him. I do not get that sense from Percy. Percy, I think, of all of them, is probably the best proportioned of all of them. I still think he's a little bit top heavy. His wheels are not in proportion size-wise compared to the rest of him, but because he only has two, I think you notice it a bit less. But these two look great together, although you can really see the difference that the buffer detailing makes such a massive difference in terms of elevating these toys. And this is a really great comparison where you can see that having two engines that have that buffer detail and the white running board versus the Percy, and like, it just looks like a cheaper toy, which is a bit unfortunate. But yep, you can see that again, these guys look great together, very well sized in my view, relatively. I mean, obviously Percy should be smaller, but the constraints of these standardized chassis means that there's limited opportunity to do that. What would be funny, and I think it is, yeah, Percy's actually longer than Thomas. So if I line these up buffer to buffer at the back, you can see just by, you know, maybe 2 or 3, maybe 2 millimeters. Yeah, Percy's actually bigger than Thomas, which is a bit of a lull. He's also taller potentially because of the, like if you look at the weight of them. Yeah, so not perfect scaling between these engines, but I think they look fine. And then if we come to the way Percy and Gordon look, again, I think the fact that Percy is shorter than Gordon is good. And the big face helps make Gordon look larger, but it's interesting how much, or how little difference there is in between in terms of the size they feel because of Percy's big saddle tank. And also, again, if we look at length, noting, of course, that my Gordon has had the mod done on the coupling. If we line them up to the tip of their buffers, you can see that Percy's actually not that much shorter than Gordon either. So, again, no line is perfect. But yeah, there's certainly compromises that have been made here, but there's always been compromises in the Trackmaster / battery powered realm of Thomas and Friends. But I think the compromises they've made in this line are some of the more appropriate ones. All right, so what do I think of this, the new core pack Trackmaster 4 / Motorised Percy CGI style? He's an awesome toy. If you like the CGI style of engines, this is fantastic merchandise. I think it's it's done a really good job. And again, I think what people forget is that these are toys, and some of the commentary online really doesn't understand that these are toys. They're not collector's models. And so for 16 Australian dollars, which is the price of these little packs, which interestingly is like the price I paid for the big packs when they were on special. But anyway, you are getting a very good representation of Percy. Not a perfect representation. There are things which I could, that I would change if I was making a model. But for a toy that is 16 Australian dollars, this is very good bang for your buck. You're getting something that looks very accurate to relatively accurate to the show. It's got a good amount of size about it, and it plays relatively well, as you would have seen in my running videos. So this one, it's a winner for me. I'm looking forward to getting the variant in the pack with the mail car, which is a bit of a weird all engines go smushed together version of the pack. So we'll see how that all goes together. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching. I look forward to hearing all your comments down below. That's all we've got time for. This is Extreme Trains.